Mannequin disorder.
Oh, I did that a few years ago, but I actually like biffed it. I was chasing Bobby in flip-flops and just like skidded.
Oh, I remember that.
Remember that? I like cut my nose, but I had a fat lip for like 2 days. You just look like you had
Call the meeting to order. Is it one person or just the one? CTE.
You bet. Well, we have what I think is a treat for you here today. We have from our Career and Tech Education Academy, Josh Hall here to speak about all things CTE. When we go through what are the issues that we're going to talk about at work sessions, we always talk about something where we want to take a deep dive and we don't have necessarily enough time in a regularly scheduled board meeting to discuss the issues. And one of the things as President Mickelson and Vice President Ryder and I were talking is, when's the last time we really got a deep dive on CTE? And none of us could remember, so we thought it was time to do it again. Maybe more importantly, when I reached out to Josh Hall, the principal at CTE, about doing this, most people aren't overly eager about presenting publicly, but I can tell you Josh was. And so, and talks about the pride he has in the building, but also talks about the great things that are going on there, and he knows they're going on there. So without me going on and on and on, I'll turn it over to the CTE principal, Josh.
Thank you. And let me start by saying thank you for your support for CTE education. I've always felt like that's a priority in our district, and the support has always been there. Hopefully everyone received a t-shirt. I told Todd, I found out Todd is a Vikings fan. If you're not, I apologize for the color. It just happened to be the color that we went with this year. So I will move into, I have a PowerPoint today that we'll talk through. CTE education. And so just a little bit of background, and I apologize if you know some of this stuff. I didn't know where I was coming in at with everybody, but I want to make sure we're all on the same page. CTE education, career and technical education. So at the CTE Academy, 12 programs, 12 different programs is what we run. The state commonly refers to them as clusters in the CTE world. So we have 12 of those out at the CTE Academy. And then this year, as you're probably aware, we have some Roosevelt High School core classes as well running. And so what we did is we looked at some of the Roosevelt students who were also signed up for CTE classes, and they're taking some English and social studies out of our building because we had a little bit of room to accommodate that. So we had 2 Roosevelt teachers out with us for about 2/3 of their day to help with some of those space concerns that Principal Hazlett has at Roosevelt. And then we also teach integrated English courses. And I'll circle back to that here a little bit later, but that also creates another opportunity at the CTE Academy for students to pick up some English credits that isn't available at the other buildings. It's kind of a unique way to teach English language arts. So our design, and this number is as of today, as far as what we're having show up. This semester, 815 different students who are taking over 1,000 credits, essentially, in a day. And so, like I mentioned, the integrated ELA courses, those are on top of their CTE credits. So that's where we get to the accessible, plus the Roosevelt, the core credits are included in the 1,000 credit number. Students travel to the CTE Academy. They have a shuttle bus option if they so choose. We don't want anyone to not come to CTE because they don't have a ride. A lot of the students choose to drive. They like that freedom. There's almost a college post-high type feeling that they have. And so they enjoy that. A lot of students take advantage of that. But we also have a number of students who do utilize the shuttle bus for their transportation out to the building. We partner with 8 surrounding public school districts, and they purchase a total of 141 seats at the CTE Academy. Now, we do 3-year contracts. We're in year 2 right now of the most recent contract. And so the way it works is they determine out of their seats who they send out to the CTE Academy. They register at the same time that our students in district register. We build a schedule to accommodate those students when they come out. Most of those students come out to us first block. it fits best with their schedule and getting kids back for the rest of the day in their district. We also have students from the local parochial schools that attend. So students who live in our boundary come out and they become our student for part of their day, and they have the opportunity to attend at the CTE Academy. This year we don't, this semester I should say, we don't have any students from the Crossing Boys Ranch, but in the past we have. And then they just go through the seat purchase process the same way as our out-of-district partners students do. This is the list of schools outside the Sioux Falls Public School District that send us kids. So this is where they're all coming from. The numbers are really all over the map as far as how many are coming from each place. You know, that's a local decision that they make for budgetary reasons and whatnot, interest levels and so on and so forth. But this is the list of the districts outside of Sioux Falls that send us students. So what does a student's daily schedule look like at CTE? So their enrollment remains at their home building. So they're a Roosevelt student and they come out to us almost like a program that you would attend. Generally they come out for one block, which is a double period from the home school, which is why they're able to earn a full credit in the semester rather than the normal half credit that they would get at their home building. A 100-minute block. Really that's because of the CTE model. When you look at the hands-on world, essentially in education, the amount of time to get equipment out and get prepared to do a project and then the cleanup on the back side of it, if you're talking about a shorter block of time, you end up spending so much time doing that it limits or lessens the amount of instructional time in there. And so the block schedule for CTE makes a lot of sense. It's a great fit, and it's one of the reasons that we went that way for the CTE model. You can see our times as far as the blocks go. We start a little bit earlier in the morning than the home high schools do, and the reason those times came to be, so to speak, is that so students have time to get back to their home school without missing more than 2 periods, so that they never get behind in credits for coming out to the CTE Academy. And then we have to accommodate their lunches at their home building in the middle of the day, so we have to make sure we get them to a place with food that's serving them. We still offer several CTE classes back at the home buildings. And this is a list of those classes. The number of sections vary by building, and that's all determined by student interest. But these are all CTE courses. These courses, some of the funding for equipment that we get through the Carl Perkins federal grant, these are all taken into consideration for that as far as their numbers and students being counted in that data for that grant. So they're still part of the district CTE programs. They're just taught at an introductory level at the home buildings. The difference here would also be that these are half credit courses versus the full credit that we would learn at CTE. I mentioned the 12 content areas. So real briefly, I'll go through each one of those content areas just so you have an idea of the courses that are taught in each one of those content areas. I also wanted to set this up to show you the community partnerships that we have at the CTE Academy. So for each one of these slides, each one of these departments at the CTE Academy, you're going to see these business logos. And if the business logo is up here, that means they're either giving us a financial contribution, they're donating equipment or credit for equipment from their business, they're sending guest speakers to come out and teach the kids on a various day about what they do on a day-to-day basis in their business, or they're paying for our students to come out and visit their business and see what it's all about. What I didn't include in all these slides is internship partners and shadow partners. I started to put that list together, pages and pages, hundreds on top of. Now some of these are also doing that, but so what you're gonna see, for example, Citi, $10,000 contributor to the Academy of Finance. They're a big sponsor of the Academy of Finance. These other groups down below have representation on the advisory board for the Academy of Finance. Each one of the departments at the CTE Academy has a separate advisory board. Southeast Tech does a similar thing out there, and in fact, we join advisory boards anytime we have commonalities and programs. So we sit on theirs, they sit, it's the same advisory board essentially. And so we have that connection with the post-high institutions, and we can see that complete pathway then locally from the CTE Academy to Southeast Tech. So you'll see the advisory board, and you'll see several of these companies. That just means the representation is there. Now that advisory board does a lot for us. It informs us about industry needs. What are the trends? What equipment? What do you need to see more of from students who are graduating high school? What do you expect from employees that you're not seeing? How can we serve you better? You know, our community, our business community, how can we help develop that workforce and address those needs? Those advisory boards meet a minimum of twice a year. A number of them meet quarterly or more often than twice a year, but it's a minimum of twice a year that those advisory boards meet. For the Academy of Finance, Accounting 1, Accounting 2, Intro to Financial Services, Banking, Credit. The number of sections varies by student interest again each year, just like at the home buildings, but those are the courses that are offered in the Academy of Finance. Our automotive department is actually kind of broken into two areas. One is auto body repair, so you think about the dents, the scratches, things from a car accident, things of that nature. That's one area. Those are the courses taught in auto body repair. And then auto tech is more the engines, the brakes, the electronics, the internal function of the vehicle. You can see the number of partnerships there. Again, those are in-kind donations, those are parts. Our most recent, I think went through the board meeting here a couple of weeks ago, Sioux Falls Ford signed a 5-year agreement to give us $4,000 worth of credit basically from their parts department every year, so that students have access to purchase parts or just to get them at cost. That's one of the ways that they can help us out. They also take a number of our students in their lube program. So students who are working with the students. Two of them recently have actually been promoted within the so they're seeing the benefit of that. Aviation. So aviation is one of the newer programs out of the CTE Academy. It didn't originally exist when the building opened. This was driven by student interest. So each year when we have the freshmen come out to the building, we give them an interest survey. We ask them, is there anything we're not doing that you're interested in? Is there anything that we should look at adding? You know, what's out there? What careers, what pathways are we missing? And that's how this came to be. We've also asked, you know, we look at programs that Southeast Tech is adding. We always ask kids about those. Should we be starting that even sooner, giving you a head start on that? Are there, you know, any ag is a big one that has come up in the past. And so we always gauge their interest level every year when those freshmen come out. We survey them to see if there's something they're missing. You can see there's a snapshot of our Facebook page actually. Brian Carsons from Kello came out to talk about weather patterns with the aviation class and how that impacts flight. As a pilot, what that means. And so that's an example of a community partnership, someone from the industry coming out and showing kids from their perspective what that means and how it impacts the potential career. We took the kids up to UND last year. We got to visit that aviation program, which is phenomenal. As far as the region goes, if you want to be a pilot, it's one of the top programs in the region. SDSU also is doing more and more with aviation. And Lake area has an aviation mechanic program. And so we take the kids up there for a visit as well so they can see a little bit different aspect of aviation. All those groups, AOPA, Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association, has worked with us to revamp our curriculum. And so that essentially is a group of pilots from all over the country who come together and say, this is what's most important for kids to know, and this is how we can hook them into aviation as a career. Biomedical Sciences, and really EMT is kind of separate from that. Biomedical Sciences, and so this essentially is kids applying some of the sciences that they're getting in some of their core, you know, when you think about crime scene investigation and DNA analysis and some of those whodunit type scenarios with forensics and things like that, it's an application of sciences, a lot of math involved as well. And we partner with Augustana for credit, as well as several other institutions will take those. In a minute, I'll talk about concurrent legal credit, but this is one of those opportunities where they can take a couple of these biomed classes, and an institution like Augustana will bring those in as an elective credit. EMT, students have an opportunity to earn a certification in the role of EMT. So if you think about an ambulance shows up, there are several different levels of qualifications for the people who are on that ambulance. That lowest level of a person, that's something that students can earn while at the CTE Academy. They can earn that certification. And we partner with Sanford to offer that certification in the classroom, and then those students actually go out on ambulances on the weekend to get some experiences and then spend some time in the ER with that emergency medicine side of things. Again, our partners, students go visit the programs at Southeast Tech related to the medical sciences, Sanford Imaginetics, just to name a couple in that area. Health sciences, our biggest program at the CTE Academy. So Health Careers 1 and Health Careers 2. Health Careers 1 is a lot of that baseline intro information, whether you're talking about physical therapy, an MD of some sort, maybe it is a CNA, a nurse, whatever it is in the medical field. If you have that interest, it's a solid introduction into that whole world. Talk about anatomy, it's hands-on experiences, and you probably remember last year one of the big education foundation grants at the CTE Academy in the form of a couple simulation mannequins that we can program to simulate any medical emergency that anyone would face in the medical community. And so health careers, we actually have 9 sections running right now at the CTE Academy this semester. It's big. And then second semester is the internship side of that. And so students will spend 5 weeks in a long-term care setting of some kind. Good Sam has been a major partner for us to get out, and it's actually working with patients. And it's not a shadow, it's working with patients. It's doing those blood pressure checks. It's doing some of those lifts. They're working alongside of their staff and personnel, but it's hands-on. And then the other half, the other 5 weeks of the 10-week internship is spent most of the time at Avera in the hospital. Once in a while, if a student has a specific interest, like in veterinary or something like that, dental, we'll send them out or create a placement somewhere else. We have partners in other areas. We do our best to try to get them into a specific area that they have an interest. And so they also have an opportunity to earn a certification, the CNA certification. Avera is a big partner in that process. They not only sponsor the program, but they also pay for 1/3 of that CNA certification for those students, if they would like to pursue that. That's an option for each student. It's about a $300 certification, and Avera covers 1/3 of that. Southeast Tech does both concurrent and dual credit for this program. So for the CNA course, Southeast Tech does concurrent credit. Now the difference between dual and concurrent credit, those terms are often used synonymously, and they're not the same thing. Concurrent credit is when our instructor has the certifications, teaches the exact same content, so those students really don't have any interaction with that higher ed institution other than to pay their bill and then get their transcript from them. So it's the same content, it's just taught through our class and our teacher because they have the certifications and requirements to teach at that level. And so students can earn 3 credits with their CNA certification at Southeast Tech that goes to several different programs at Southeast. There's also an additional 2 credits of medical terminology that they can earn in a dual credit format. And so we cover roughly 350 to 400 medical terms throughout this course. And for that credit, or those 2 credits at Southeast, is about 700. And so the difference is done through an online platform with a Southeast Tech instructor. And so they actually have the opportunity to get 5 credits, Southeast Tech credits, throughout these 2 courses. Carpentry and cabinetry. Again, you can see a number of sponsors there. We build 2 houses, start to finish, every year. One is for Habitat for Humanity. That generally is the house that they start on first, the students do. It's more of a basic house, 1 roof line, a little bit smaller, and then Affordable Housing is the other partner that this year it's the biggest house we've ever built at the CTE Academy, and actually it has an attached garage we can't even put the gutters on because of the clearance and getting it out the doors until it's after it's on site. So we got about 4 inches on each side to move it out of that building. But those are our 2 partners, and the advantage there, actually there are multiple advantages. One, the kids have that community partnership. They get to see a family in need get a home, maybe a family that would have never had a home. That family comes out to visit once they've been assigned or chosen by those institutions. They come out to visit, the kids get to meet them. That's a big deal for them. So they know who their work is going towards, and they get a chance to connect with them. And so they get that community relationship aspect side of it. Also, financially, for our district, these institutions front the cost and pay for all the materials. And so, back, Tom would know the answer. Before the CTE Academy, when we built houses at Roosevelt, we would have to fund the cost of those materials and things and auction the house off. Hopefully we broke even. Usually it worked out okay, but there was always that chance, right? And so not only is it a great community partnership, but that risk is mitigated in that way too. It's really worked out well, and students commonly come back and talk about how they drove past the house that they built in our community, and that will always be there, and they'll be able to talk to their friends and see that for a long time. Several.
Roosevelt, they had to build them outside too.
Yeah, the kids are a little bit spoiled. They get to be indoors for that whole process out of the CTE Academy. A number of sponsors in the cabinetry and carpentry program, and again, in-kind donations, equipment. It's important that kids use the equipment that they would use on the job site, and so we're very particular about keeping things updated. And again, that's those advisory boards, that information that comes through, and letting us know what the kids need to learn how to use. One of the big equipment purchases that we made this year through the Carl Perkins grant was a telehandler. And so if you think about a construction site, essentially it's kind of a beefed up forklift. Almost every house that's built uses one of these on site, and it lifts shingles up to the roof, it lifts rafters onto all that backbreaking work that used to be done by hand. Now technology is used. And so that's a certification that we will offer students the opportunity to receive. The contractors are telling us almost every person that we have on a job site needs to earn that certification. And so we can give them a head start, an advantage, so to speak, over their competition in getting those jobs, and maybe give them some more earning power when they do get those jobs. And so that has really worked out well, and the kids get to use a piece of equipment that they're going to be using if they go into that career. Computer networking. We've heard a great deal about this whole world is just going crazy right now. And Dakota State, our next most recent sponsor, Sign-On, agreed to sponsor this program, which is very exciting for us. Obviously, they're a national leader in this world, and they send staff to us to help teach kids. Our instructor is on staff there, so kids are earning concurrent credit for the courses that they take at the CTE Academy through Dakota State. So that picture is actually a student who's doing some soldering. And you may think, is that out of place? Is this computer networking? Well, the hardware side involves a lot of that circuitry and discrete circuitry. This student is actually working on the most recent education foundation grant that came to the CTE Academy, was adapting toys for some of our RISE students. And so the computer networking students, the hardware students, are partnering with the engineering students to take apart and disassemble these toys and wire in new circuitry so that they're adaptive to create that library for special education students to use as needed. So that's what's going on with that picture. It is in the right spot. But that program also is just, it's unbelievable when you describe it until you talk to them, right? It's one of those things that, and then especially but very talented individuals. I mean, I tell you what, and the instructor, Brad Brockman, are also equally as talented. Actually, I have a picture of a neat experience with him here later on in the slideshow. Human services and culinary arts. So as far as the state is concerned, the Department of Education, these two are kind of under the same umbrella. Human services, these are students who know that they want to work with people. essentially, and they're just not sure what's out there for them or what's the best fit for them. So they'll do a number of job shadows, a lot of interest inventories, work with businesses and the community to get those experiences. Teaching is a common one, actually, for these students, to try to get a feel for what's my path. I know I need to work with people, I need that human interaction, but I'm just not sure what that is yet. And so we help them find that pathway. And then culinary arts has grown tremendously just here in the last 2 years. And that's restaurant management and advanced restaurant management program, and then a baking and pastries course. I know some of you were at the Educational Foundation benefit. Our students catered that event. It was a pretty neat deal for them. And since then, we've catered the grand opening for the hotel in Phillips. We also did the food for New Tech High's homecoming. Our students catered that and brought it up the hill, as well as Pheasantland Industries. We catered a lunch there. And so students are getting those real experiences. Later on, you're going to see a picture of, we partnered with the Elementary Immersion Center for a first Thanksgiving type event. And so it was surprising that a number of our students didn't know what a traditional Thanksgiving meal consisted of. And so we wanted to show them that, take them through the process of making that, and then just kind of added the cherry on top that we were able to partner with Principal Hannigan at the Elementary Immersion Center to bring those students out to also experience what Thanksgiving is like, an American tradition. And so they came out and we set up a long grand table down the hallway, and our students prepared the meal alongside of those students, and then we sat down and ate that meal together. Robotics of Engineering. Graco has been a major sponsor for that program and purchased some major industrial robotic equipment. It's amazing what some of these things cost in that world. The robotic things out there, the factory builds, essentially refurbished, kids learn to troubleshoot all the things that they would do if they were employees. We also do lead the way curriculum for our engineering program or engineering courses in the robotics and engineering department, and then partner closely with South Dakota State, as well as the School of Mines and Technology. Our instructor is an engineering grad from there. Stays in close contact with them. And then Southeast Tech has a mechatronics program, which has a lot of overlap and tie-in. And so we work closely with those institutions, especially on our advisory board for students in those programs. Our welding program, main sponsor there is Marmon Energy. And we actually started a weld off last year. The media covered it. We partnered with Southeast Tech on that as well. But Marmon sponsored the day, essentially. We were able to bring kids in from all our home buildings from the intro welding classes and bring them out alongside of the students who were taking welding at the CTE Academy. And Marmon used their sponsors or their suppliers who they buy equipment and things from to donate prizes for students. And so they had an actual hands-on welding project as well as a written test that they had to take, and we created a competition. The winner of we had 2 divisions, an advanced division for those at the CTE Academy, and then a second division for those who were just in the intro classes at the home buildings. But it brought them all out to the CTE Academy, and then they did part of their competition up at Southeast Tech, and then as well as going out to Marmon for a tour of their industry. It was a full day. And at the end of the day, there were prizes awarded in both of those categories, with the advanced student, the winner receiving a full ride to Southeast Tech in their welding program. So that was a pretty neat deal, a great day, and we're going to do it again this year. So this year will be the second, hopefully annual event that we do alongside Marmon Energy in our welding department, and that will take place here in April. I mentioned integrated English language arts earlier. And so we look at high school credits and the needs for students to get some of these high school credits, and we look at opportunities at the CTE academies. How can we give them more room in their schedule to take more classes at CTE? How can we create a greater interest in their English core content by doing it through the lens of CTE education? And so that's where the integrated English language arts concepts came from. And it's one of our students there who was speaking actually at the Week of Work introduction, one of Governor Norton's big initiatives this year. But so for example, speech class, if a student comes out and say they're enrolled in welding and they also want to take integrated speech, one of their speeches is a demonstration speech. And so in order to demonstrate mastery in welding, or, running a bead or whatever, they'll have to show their welding instructor that independently and explain what they're doing along the way. Our speech teacher will also come in and observe that demonstration and that verbal interaction, and it counts towards one of the speeches for the speech class. And so a student, they're interested because they're in the content that they love, that they enjoy, yet they don't even realize they're doing a speech and they're demonstrating things. And we do that whether it's an oil change or whatever it is across our building. With students in all departments enrolled in all of these integrated courses. We're at 140 students taking an integrated ELA course this semester. And the drop add window hasn't happened obviously yet for second semester, but we're at 137 second semester. Next year we will be adding creative writing to that list. It's up there now, but it won't be added till next year officially. So that program keeps growing and the students really respond well to that. It's just tying that to their interest and that hands-on learning piece. So integrated English language arts. CTSOs, another acronym in education, Career and Technical Student Organizations. So we have three main ones that we run out of the CTE Academy. And Health Occupation Student Association, HOSA, I don't know if everyone's familiar with that or not, but essentially that's like an after-school club for students who are interested in health occupations. And there's a state event, it's been in Sioux Falls the last couple of years, and it will be again this year. And students compete in the areas of CNA, EMT, everything health careers related, which we have a lot of direct correlation to and prepare students to do very well at this event. Last year we had 6 students qualify to go to the national competition by winning state. Not only do you have to win the state competition, but there's also a national metric that you have to meet. So just because you win state, it doesn't necessarily mean that you qualify to go to nationals. At any rate, 6 of our students qualified to go, and it was held in Disney World last year. And so we sent chaperones and found sponsors, and those students were able to go and compete as part of the HOSA national competition. Pretty neat experience. ProStart is a similar organization, although it's tied to culinary arts. And so, again, it's that same type of thing, state competitions, national competitions. And then Skills USA is several different areas at CTE. And so it's carpentry, it's welding, it's auto mechanics. The state competition for that is co-hosted by STI and us. It's on both of our campuses. So students come from all over the state to compete in those events. Last year we had 13 students qualify for the national competition in Louisville. And so we sent them out there and we'll have fun with that as well. So when I think about challenges at the CTE Academy, one of the things since I moved out there and even before that, I run into so many people that have no idea that building either exists or what happens inside the walls of that building, or that their child has access to all the programs there as a Sioux Falls public student. And so that continues to be our challenge, is how do we get the word out? What can we do about that? And so over the last couple of years, that's been a focus of one of the committees that we have at the CTE Academy, is what can we do? We need to do better. We need to get the word out. How can we do that? And so these are some of the action items that we've done. Social media, our Facebook page, we developed that. We post every week to that, whether it's student activities or just student recognition. A particular student who we interview, and they get to talk about their interests and why they enjoy being at the CTE Academy. We'll link news stories that are done in relation to the CTE Academy. But if you haven't checked out our CTE Academy Facebook page, I encourage you to do that. There's a lot of new information on there about what's going on there in the student achievements. Career fair and open house. This is something we started 2 years ago. So one of the nights of parent-teacher conferences in the fall, as well as in the winter, we do a career fair. And so we run parent-teacher conferences alongside a career fair and an open house. Many Lincoln parents in the room, so you've probably got my automated call about the career fair and open house. We invite all the higher ed institutions to come out and host a table, as well as businesses that we commonly work with. Usually there's about 60 of the businesses that show up, and then another 20 or so higher ed institutions that have tables out there. And so kind of a one-stop shop for kids and their parents. They get to come out and talk to their teacher about academic progress, talk to higher ed institution, and then directly to businesses. We also, last year, our teachers were a little frustrated because they didn't get time to interact with the businesses in higher ed because it was so busy. 1,000 people come in the fall and about 800 in the spring is the average number that we've been seeing. And so we started an hour earlier. We invited the businesses and higher ed institution people to come in. Our culinary students catered kind of an hors d'oeuvre session. And our teachers got to sit down and enjoy some hors d'oeuvres while talking to some of these institutions. And so, as well as our students got new experience in the culinary department. So that's the career fair and open house. Junior Achievement Inspire, this is a new event. You probably heard about it. They just started this year. Our culinary instructor, Janelle Revere, hosted a table on behalf of South Dakota ProStart, which I mentioned earlier as a CTSO for culinary arts. And then we also hosted a table just as a CTE Academy. So a couple of our career counselors out there, Principal Reiser was out there for a while as well, and hosting that and just talking to middle school kids about opportunities at the CTE Academy. 8th grade visits. So we try to get as many 8th graders out to see the program as possible. We tried a pilot a couple years ago with McGovern and Reader. We brought every single 8th grader out to the building. The staffing that we have available to give a tour, we can only handle about one team or 130 or so kids at one time, and so we had to do multiple sessions. And predictably, Patrick Henry Memorial Edison soon followed with, when do we get to bring all of them? And so we started looking at it, and it would take 16, 18 days, something like that. A lot of instructional time is being interrupted. So we scaled it back to include 8th grade CTE and FACS students. So all those students in middle school, 8th grade CTE and FACS come out for a tour, ideally right before high school registration. And so they get to see those programs, and that's funded through the Patrick instead of the busing the subs if they're involved. And so that's something that we've kind of experimented with and done different things with, but it seems to be the best fit as far as what we can handle and limit the amount of instructional disruption. 9th grade visits. While juniors test in the high schools, there are a number of different things that happen for the other grades in the building. All of the 9th graders come out to visit the CTE Academy. And so we take them through every single program. And that happens, I think this year it's March 31st, April 1st, and April 2nd. Each of those 3 high schools come out one day. And so all of the 9th graders will come out and visit the CTE Academy during that time. The 10th graders they have an option to either go to Southeast Tech to do a visit or to one of the 4-year institutions in town. We try to rotate that, keep it fair. But, and so that's what the 10th graders do during that time. So it's all focused on those experiences and then seeing the CTE Academy. We also started this last year, those incoming freshman parent events. I think Lincoln had one last night, as well as last Saturday. We send some of our staff members out to be present at those events to talk to families, hand out information, answer questions. Parent-teacher conferences, I mentioned one night that we have the big career fair open house. The other night, we'll send some of our staff members, if we have staff that are, there are multiple staff in one department, we'll try to send them out to some of our buildings to make it more convenient for parents to talk to them at those buildings as well. Again, just doing anything we can to try to get access. And it all comes back to this promotion and making people aware of the opportunities at the CTE Academy. Here's a few just fun pictures that I wanted to throw in. But in the upper left, I mentioned the hotel in Phillips grand opening and our culinary students catering that. There are similar pictures of the educational foundation, the hors d'oeuvres and things that they made there, but that's what's in the upper left, and that's a screenshot from our Facebook page, actually. As part of our promotion, we invite community city groups out to the CTE Academy. Last year, we hosted a chamber meeting at the CTE Academy. First off-site chamber meeting they had in a long time. Jason Ball and I coordinated at the time. And that right there is a picture of the Young Professionals Network coming out to see the CTE Academy. And then the Sioux Falls Leadership Program was just out there here not too long ago as well. They hosted a day's meetings out of the CTE Academy. The lower left picture is what I was talking about with that Thanksgiving meal that we did at the elementary movement center. It was the long grand table that we set up, and you kind of see our students mixed in with the elementary students. Just a neat event, something that I look for us to do every year. So what's new? What's been happening lately? I mentioned the career fair that we'll keep doing. It's been very successful. CTE Academy Exploration, it's a new course. Basically, it's for underclassmen to come out and experience all departments at the CTE Academy. I know that neat things are happening there. I'm just not really sure what my thing is. I feel like it's our job to help you find your passion, right? Whatever that is. And so they get to experience all the departments through that course. I mentioned Southeast Technical, but other institutions. Business-sponsored promotional events. So we partnered with the AGC and the Home Builders Association to do a construction awareness day. This last year we did it in conjunction with Southeast Tech. We bring in heavy equipment. Kids get to operate things like bulldozers and cranes, and I mean, just a memorable experience that those kids are never going to forget. And then one of the criticisms nationally of CTE education is serving those non-traditional students. So I'm talking about gender. And so if you think about culinary, you think it's dominated by females typically, or you think about a welding, it's dominated by males. And so how can we reach the opposite gender with some of those things? And so we partnered with Maywit in the AGC to do an event called Pizza Pop and Power Tools, and it's for 8th grade girls from our 5 middle schools. And so we were able to create funding for, or get funding for busing, again for subs so their teachers can accompany them, but they come out and that event will be in March, 25 girls from each. Summer camps, that's another thing we started. This last year we did 6 summers. The Home Builders Association sponsored the construction camp. Same thing sponsored a health careers camp that we, half the time the kids were at the CTE Academy, half the time they were up at STI. We did media arts camp. We did a welding camp, a national organization called Nuts, Bolts, and Thingamajigs sponsored our manufacturing and welding camp, and we did that in partnership with Southeast Tech as well. And so all in all, we did 6 of those camps last year, and they've been a huge success. This year, as we look forward, the Volunteers of America actually approached us, and we have a number of kids who come there from our district in the summer, and they want to get their students out to the CTE Academy for these camps, and so they're going to write it into their application for the 21st century grant that is coming due. And so hopefully that all plays out and we're able to get those students to come out this summer as well. And the camps are focused mostly on middle school students. And so again, that's getting to them early so they're aware of those opportunities, all part of the promotion plan. And internships, I know you've heard about that before. Forward Sioux Falls, the Sioux Falls Development Foundation has been a big sponsor along with the City Foundation in the 3rd year of that grant. And they've made funding possible for both a career coach and an internship coordinator position. These are our partners for the concurrent and dual credit. Currently, the number of credits vary by each institution. USD in partnership with the Academy of Finance, 25, 27. We keep adding courses, but think about how many of those credits a student can knock out if they're able to fit all those courses in their high school schedule at that 48 whatever a credit hour, significantly cheaper than what they would pay beyond high school and campus. And so we have partnerships in various degrees with all these institutions where students can earn those post-high credits. It's a group of our CNA grads on the right there from last year, just one of the blocks. And they're holding up a sign. It's hard to read, but their home school as well as their plan for what's next. I mentioned the field experience for our students. This was from a couple of years ago. Governor Dugard stopped out to Malloy Electric with a Washington student. Josh is his name, actually. He just explained to Governor Dugard what he does at his internship at Malloy and showing how a motor worked there in that picture. Guest speakers from industry, very common at the CTE Academy. It's great. Our teachers are very knowledgeable, but sometimes it's nice to have somebody from industry who's working in it every day to come and give them a firsthand testimonial of what they do and what they do in the job shadows, internships. We talked about some of those earlier. I mentioned our computer networking teacher, Mr. Brockman, so this summer, because of the nomination from the district. Dr. Mocker probably had something to do with that. He was able to go up and fly in the jet. And if you can see it, they put his name on the cockpit and everything. But what a cool experience. He did pass out. He told me that he did pass out. But he said it was very brief, but something he'll never forget and a great opportunity. A great person who does a lot for kids in our district. That bottom picture is the affordable housing home being moved out of our building last year on its way to a site not too far from the Axtell Park building, actually just a few blocks to the east and a little bit south is where that house ended up. That's what's happening at the CTE Academy. A lot going on, and we continue to look for new opportunities to create for the kids and ways to get more kids out there. It would be great if anyone you talk to, you tell them about those opportunities. Refer them to our website, our Facebook page. I mentioned that earlier. Through the district's website, Ben Schumacher actually, let's see here, if we go to high schools and then we go to CTE Academy, you can go into the departments tab, and those are all links with more information about each one of those departments. And there are testimonial videos. They're about 2 or 3 minutes long. We did interviews with students. It also shows footage of students in action, so to speak, doing projects in those different departments. And so that's been really useful as a promotional tool, as well as our partner districts who are not in the Sioux Falls public system when they're trying to explain to kids what happens in various classes. I mentioned our Facebook page that we constantly update with the happenings and what's going on. So, I guess at this time I would take any questions or that you may have.
Thank you, Josh. Just want to commend you and everyone out at CTE for all the partnerships you have in the community to develop to do what you do out there and provide these opportunities to our students. Could you go back to that slide with all the surrounding schools? I was curious.
Sure.
I was writing them down and I didn't get the last couple, and I was curious. I had one question on that one.
We'll make sure you have access to the PowerPoint presentation as well.
Okay. Yeah. So have we looked at, is there an opportunity, could homeschool students?
Yes, actually we do have homeschool students too. I didn't include them in this list, but we do have a process for homeschool students to attend the CTE Academy. Basically, we wait until 10 days prior to the first student day and we look at available seats, and then there's an application process that goes through that to enroll.
Would you go to the slide with the block scheduling?
Sure.
Thank you, sorry.
Is this the one?
Yes, okay. Perfect. I just was looking at the schedule for that because I was curious about that in case something would happen, because I know with like UTEX on block scheduling as well, and with other schools, and if we look at something that the district gets some, we need to do that with other kids too, with college, what that schedule is right now. So
Yep. And again, that has a lot to do with transportation and getting kids to and from other buildings in time, so they don't have to miss what's necessary to get behind in credits. Yep.
Now, you mentioned the Carl Perkins grant, and Carly had actually sent me an article regarding the usage of those funds as well for middle school CTE funds. Can you use that for the camps as well, and maybe take that other funding for that? Or?
We can. That is an opportunity that we have. I know
there's limited. You only get so much money, and what you use it for.
And so that's part of that budget committee process. That's one of the budget committees that I have is the Perkins grant. And so we sit down and we look at, again, with our industry partners, what are our needs? What do we need to get in front of the kids? What access do we need to give them? And we look at, so last year, 2 years ago, the middle school CTE program got some updates in curriculum. We used part of the Carl Perkins funds for that update. But every year we look at those things. The most recent federal legislation, we call it Perkins 5. That's not actually the name of it, but that's what we refer to it as. Gave us freedom to use that in 5 through 12 as far as grades. Before it was 7 through 12. There are restrictions as far as, you can't replace local costs with grant funds and all those things that we have to be sure to follow. But yeah, there's a lot of things that we definitely could use those funds for, and we evaluate that each year for that budget process.
Thank you.
The project Lead the Way, you mentioned that robotics and engineering. Is that mainly what that is, or are there other project Lead the Way classes that could be?
So biomedical technologies, we utilize the Project Lead the Way curriculum in those courses. Not EMT, which I had lumped in that group, but the rest of the biomed courses. The engineering courses, as you mentioned. Robotics is separate, actually. Robotics isn't part of. That was a course that we developed in-house in the district.
Just all the other engineering.
Yep. And then this year, we were doing cybersecurity in the computer networking department. It's a brand new curriculum that Project Lead the Way has, and we offered cybersecurity in the past, but we're going to go to Project Lead the Way's curriculum starting this next semester, actually, for the first time. And then Dakota State is accepting that as a concurrent credit.
Wonderful. And thank you too, just for sharing your space with Roosevelt. I'm sure it helps ease their pain a little bit over there. So.
Yeah, it's worked out really well. Yeah. It has, and I think those kids enjoy it. Those teachers, it's fun having them in the building. It's just worked out really well. So.
I was just going to add that, it wasn't that long ago that we went to school, and I remember you just went and you sat in your classroom and you listened to your teacher talk, and then when the bell rang, you got up and you went to the next one and you listened to them talk and you took notes. And so that's not the learning style of so many students. And so this is such an awesome way for students who need to have that hands-on. I need to do it for myself. I want to try that. I want to touch that. I want to smell that. I want to whatever, to be able to do that. And so listening, I knew of some of these programs, but I certainly didn't know of all of them. So it's such an awesome thing that we are able to offer so many of our students. And hopefully we can all work together to get even more students aware of this. And I'm curious, I'm sure that a lot of our high school counselors know about CTE, but do we ever have a high school counselor day where we send all of the Roosevelt, Washington, Lincoln counselors out there to really experience it, so they can come back and when they're talking to their students about whether it's career planning or class schedules and things like that, they can actually relate to some of the things that we've seen?
Actually, as part of this promotional plan 2 years ago, the high school counselors meet as a group once a month. And so the January meeting takes place at the CTE Academy. Strategically, it's right before registration starts. And then they're invited to stay and just weave in and out of classes and see for themselves, so they can give that testimonial to students as students ask those questions.
That's great.
So yes, they're doing that as of 2 years ago.
Thank you very much for all the good information.
Went to the foundation meeting where they only had like 2 or 30 of those orders, and they were unbelievable. And I haven't graduated
very recently.
Long
Oh,
ago, so I don't remember have to thank you. This was great to see and great opportunity for us to take it now. Keep promoting it as I know we all have, but now we got to motion to go in. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to come today and just talk about it. It's fun for me. It's fun for me to talk about it. It's my passion.
Hard to tell.
Yeah.
Josh, what's your wait? Do you have a waiting list for your fire cuts that your students make?
We do. Yep, we do. Last year, Mike Rowe was, Dirty Jobs. Mike Rowe was in town, and he offered to promote it on his Facebook. And, well, that's really nice of you. I don't think we can handle that. We'll be shipping them all over the world, and we're not a manufacturing plant. But no, that's a project that works really well. It allows students to demonstrate mastery in so many different areas and then come up with an end product and see the full manufacturing process. I think we're about a dozen or so out as far as those orders, but certainly we'll get to it eventually.
You wear a lot of different hats in your community partnerships to just in your physical location, all the variety of manufacturing and health and cooking and those pieces. So it's quite a testament to all those balls and students engaged and just being responsive to industry needs for the community. Just really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. There was one signed up for public input, so we move on to board committee reports.
Yeah, I really don't have any. Calendar will be meeting soon. Policy, we two policies that will be revised, very minimal.
One
changes.
had no changes and the other had that.
So, and then insurance meets next week.
Okay, well, last night we had a 3-hour strategic planning session for the foundation. So I'm respecting everybody's time tonight. I won't go into the details of that, but there's certainly some highlights. And that would be our year-end financial position, our approved 2020 budget, and then I'll touch on a few of the key goals within the context of the strategic plan. So the net revenue for year-end was at about $142,000. That growth was mainly a result of increased sponsorships, our annual breakfast, and then just general donations by and large. And of course, the keeping expenses low, so that certainly helped. The 2020 budget, you'll see a reflection of that revenue growth in what we're able to give out in the public school proud grants. That will be up to $100,000. For 2020, it will go back down to $57,000. We created a 2020 budget that's very conservative, but it also ties into the strategic plan, and that is raising $1 million by 2035. In order to do that, every year the goal is to raise $53,000. So there were some anomalies for this past year that will be reflected in 2020 in terms of their giving as well as their endowment growth. But then moving forward, we'll keep that back into the context of conservative growth. But who knows? I mean, we don't want to limit any donations given to the organization. The public school proud grant program, those applications are due today or on Friday by 10 a.m. But by and large, just to give you an overview of the application update, the number of applications received were 32. The number of schools represented were 24. The total requested amount was at $104,000, of which they have available to gift out for 2019 at right around $57,000. Already 21 applications are due. Then some of the goals, by and large, the foundation, my pulse on it, it is a growing and evolving organization. They have some big goals, and frankly, there's some big needs in the district. And so with that, they are asking some help of us, and that would be at a request to meet with some of our administrators, Dr. Boyson, Moulton, Todd, of course our superintendent, and Deanne also sits on the foundation board with me. So if I overlook something, Deanne, or overstate something, please jump in and add some
clarification to that. But by and large, the request for the meeting is to help sharpen the focus of the strategic plan. Specifically looking at and talking about what is the role at a district level of this foundation. What is their gift acceptance policy going to reflect, and how do we want to determine what that is going to be? Donor recognition. Are we across the district? Are we recognizing those donors? What does success look like? And that communication piece at a district level of what our foundation does and how then that parlays to the community by and large. Because there certainly has been some confusion, which that maybe presents a real opportunity to the foundation. So with that, they will be sending over requests to meet with a few of us from the board, and then there's the administration to really go and help sharpen the focus of that strategic plan. So there's some real opportunities there for us. Dan, anything I've forgotten to mention? Okay. So that takes care of the foundation. And then our Head Start committee met. And what we did there is, I'm trying to think, last time we reported to the board, it was surrounding the annual report. And that's really what we focused in on again at our last meeting. And so I don't feel that there's new information that would really be of interest or service to us.
Carly touched on policy and calendar committee. We've got a meeting end of the month. PAC meets tomorrow, so
Housing, we're still trying to come up with a committee. Combining the two together is a daunting task. Sports Authority, we are teaming with Howard Wood so that we can get a D2 freshman here, hopefully in 2025, with an upcoming budget meeting. And at the end of the month, I am going to DC for ASBSD, and for our district, I'll be going to a diversity symposium and the advocacy institute in Canada, including with them.
Thank you. So for your leadership, we had a meeting last month on diversity and inclusion. Chief Burns is putting together a group of community citizens and has approached the district about having representation on that. And I believe Deanne has agreed, and we've talked about maybe having another person as well from the district, just maybe who has more hands-on work with the students and parents in our district who would need the services of them. The chamber had their meeting 12/18. I was the presenter on mentoring in our district on teammates losing social services, and there was some confusion about what Promising Futures Fund is doing, and they're not doing a new mentoring. They're just trying to promote mentoring those two existing programs that we'll be having in our district. Budget, we'll have meeting with the auditor, and that will be at our end of January meeting with the auditor presented. Southeast Tech Council, we met 12/17, and Nick Wendell presented, and we had the legislative sector breakfast in December as well. So, any other? If not, do you have a motion to adjourn? Moved. Second. Motion second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Move on to Southeast Tech. Thank you. That was really good. So,
anyone from here?
Okay.
Like, can't keep my trees quiet.
okay, I just have to. There were two other reports that we wanted on the agenda that didn't get placed. And so, I don't know if they're limit because they're not this year, they are. There's my email. It's like the fall of 2019 report and the legislative priorities report. So, and they're not going to be anticipated. So, are you okay with that if we amend it? Okay, okay. I'll talk to Todd and Nan. Yeah. Yes.
Anybody want an extra t-shirt for a spouse or anything? Oh, no, that's it.
Josh, thanks for coming. Okay, I just want to make sure that there's yeah, you're doing great things.
Thank you.
If you could just shovel my sidewalk, that would be the only other thing I would ask of you. It was like 3 houses from me.
Oh, it's like, Carly.
We're gonna be out of town for a week. If you wouldn't mind, just
Hey,
you know.
I'll tell you what, I've got a sock.
Oh, so do I. But I could.
Job.
Okay,
There you go.
I might be in touch.
We'll see ya.
Okay, have a good night.
Hey, Josh.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you? I gotta get a job
We're not gonna try to do
Yes.
those other reports. I don't
Are you
wanna
sure?
rush through.
No.
Yeah.
We don't. I just talked to everybody, and they're okay
No,
with that.
I'm not.
I had meetings
After
from
going
2
to
on.
the city council meeting last night and witnessing that, I'm not doing anything.
You're
like
good?
That was bad.
We don't have
Was
a
it bad?
problem.
It's bad.
Because it's that. Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
what?
There was some emotion. Yeah, and using governmental funds and not following
Oh, right.
protocol,
Yes.
ethical this and ethical that, and it's like, okay, I'm not gonna bother.
I'm at the bakery.
Is that where you're from? Oh, yeah, that's it. Yeah, I just
I'm on
responded.
We're friends with the
political pages.
Sioux Falls Politics. Yeah, that's his page.
Yeah, and
Well, he created that. Matt Tyson.
Oh, I did. I thought it was on there.
Yeah.
it is up. I'm on a couple of them. Did he find a couple moderators or something too? Is that the same
You guys
one or is
first?
that a different one? Is it like 605
Probably be a different one.
something?
Yeah. 'Cause I think he moderates that one. Because he was for a while to the
Yeah,
censor.
well, it was the,
Which is what I've seen
meeting started at,
Yeah.
posts about. Yeah.
When are you going on your trip?
I have 2 trips coming up. The 28th to the 3rd of February, and then the 16th to the 21st. Or sorry, 28th of January and the 3rd of February. I don't know if that's what I said. So in like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And then again on the 16th to the 21st.
We'll get started with family.
The first one is with 2 other couples. My husband
Oh, I bet.
and then
Thanks,
the second one is with our kids.
So I'm not gonna let him-
I'm going to amend it, just add one thing again. So it's
back to normal.
Exactly.
So I'm not gonna be able to remember.
For the board meeting. Yeah, gotcha. I better write that down.
Way better.
I'm not okay with that.
Yeah. You're voted off the
It's my
island.
chair.
You just have to put all my yards. That's your
That's my
That's your
penance.
punishment. Just don't do. I'm not going that one.
Oh. I think I put like 50 of them out. It wasn't.
I was gonna, I probably did, we can go right up the story.
In your own yard?
You know, I'd go for it. Wouldn't they pull from the same voting book? I'm kidding. I would say that to kids.
And then
Really? Oh, yeah. Is she gonna run? I need to get my t-shirt. Okay, are you ready? I'm
Yes.
sorry we're late. I call the meeting to order. Who stands for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and thank you for, I apologize, we're starting a few minutes late. Our work session went a little long. Do we have any persons wishing to address the board? We'll move on. Approval of the minutes from the December 4th meeting.
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Do you have a motion for approval of agenda?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. No new conflicts of interest were proposed. Approval of the consent agenda, items 7A through C. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. On to reports of the president, Dr. Griggs. Looks like Megan's going to do hers first. The new website.
Good afternoon. President Mickelson and members of the board, after a year and a half of strategizing and finally implementing our new website, today we are here to introduce you to it. And we're happy to announce that we were able to launch it on December 17th. Yay. And so I want to introduce to you Jen Lambley. Jen is our marketing and communications coordinator, and she and her staff really did the heavy lifting on this project.
Hi, I'm Jen Lambley. I'm the Marketing and Communications Coordinator over at Southeast Tech. Just a little bit about me. I've been there for about a year in this role. And prior to that, I was with the state for 11 years and doing marketing and media projects with the Governor's Office of Economic Development.
All right, so we're going to walk you through. Jen's going to get to more of the nuts and bolts of the website. But first of all, what makes a great higher education website? We did a lot of research leading into this, and the 4 things we came up with was obviously visual. Obviously, when you look at a website, right, you want it to be pretty and you want it to be impressive, but there's a lot more to it in terms of the visual. And our new website, the typographic hierarchy, meaning the balance with the white space, but also the headlines. Everything's consistent now. Before, when we would put things in on the back end of the old website, just things weren't consistent from page to page. So now everything's consistent, the buttons, the graphics, all those things are sized correctly. The overall perception, you know, when we get our students who are our main target for the website and their parents to the website, we want them to have that overall impression to understand who Southeast Tech is as an institution, what we stand for. And obviously, in this day and age, you need a strong mobile presence. And nearly half of college-bound students prefer mobile. That means not just prefer it, but a lot of them don't have a home computer. You know, so they're doing all their college search on their mobile devices. They're submitting their request for information forms, their applications. They're doing their FAFSAs for financial aid, all of it online. And finally, results. And Jen will get, again, into more details about this, but we have to measure everything, that how our website is performing, and be tweaking it and constantly working to improve it. And that's why we really want to stress that a great website is a process, not project. So we launched it and we're excited about that, but it's not done. We have to have that frame of mind that it's a consistent process that we're going to continue to improve it. So quickly, I just want to talk to you this year and a half, what we've been doing. If you recall our work with Staymates, we worked with them in 2008. They conducted that audit of our recruitment and marketing and identified some challenges in the enrollment for Southeast Tech and our institutional identity. And so we came out with our new campaign and all that. And so you'll see that reflected in our website, as well as, you know, our website is our #1 marketing tool. And so in short, they said we needed a new website. So that came out of their report, and that was in 2018. And so we really needed to strategize and get a strategic plan in place for the new website. It wasn't just about looking nice. We need to have that information architecture, the content analysis done, determine who are our audience members. We know we have traditional age students, but what do our non-traditional age students look like? They're transfer students, they're moms, dads, military. So we worked with Blend Interactive here in town on that piece of the project. And then they also worked with us in determining what was our best content management system for Southeast Tech. You know, was that going to be an open source system, or were we going to go with something else? And we decided to go with a specific CMS. It's called OU Campus, and that's through Omni Update, and that's the content management system. And OU Campus, Omni Update, works with hundreds of colleges across the country, everything from Ivy League schools to two-year institutions like ours. So they work with hundreds of clients, and that's specifically the industry they focus on, which was really nice. And we decided that was the best fit for us because we could choose the features and modules of the CMS that we wanted that would fit our needs. We wouldn't have to go build that out with another company. So that's why we selected OU Campus. Ruffalo Noel Levitz, that's a very common company in higher education. And we worked with them, and I'm not going to get into the details about this, but with our search engine optimization. And that's the #1 key to a great website. And Jen's going to focus on, her presentation will focus on more details about that. But that's what we worked on Ruffalo Noel Levitz with. And then finally, as you know, we did an RFP for our media buy this year, and LNS has that contract. So everything that you do with our paid media, we have to be, right, we track that, and we see how we're performing, but we can't do that separately from our website. We focus on our website analytics and our paid media, and we look at all those reports, and we tweak as needed to make sure we're getting the biggest bang for our buck, and just make sure we're meeting our right target audience.
Okay, so Megan gave you a little bit of an overview about the steps that we took to get where we are, and then I'm just going to dig in a little bit about what exactly we did. Okay, so search engine optimization is one of the things we've talked about a lot is SEO, and what is it? And it stands for search engine optimization. The slide here says that search engine optimization is the process of increasing the quality and quantity of website traffic by increasing the visibility of a website or web page to users of a web search engine. But simply put, that is just the steps that we took to make us findable by Google or another search engine. And so without search engine optimization, we could have the best written, most engaging content in the world, but it won't do us any good if nobody can find it. So how is it done? This is one of the items that we worked with Ruffalo Noel Levitz on. And Megan lightly mentioned, but we're going to continue to work with them to monitor them, and I'll talk about more of that later. But so what Ruffalo Noel Levitz did is they took 100 pages that we ID'd from our sitemap, and those pages include all of our program pages, secondary program pages, landing pages, and then other key pages that have information on them. So they took all this information and they did this extensive keyword research to find out how people are searching for our programs and our courses. And then they took all that information, compiled it, ranked it, and then they provided us with the best keywords and phrases to incorporate into our content, text, and headlines. So then every page has meta tags, descriptions, and page titles on the back end. And just real quickly, the meta tags are determine where a page will be filed in the Google library, and then the descriptions are what shows up, and those can impact whether people click on us or not. So then what does SEO look like? Inside of our CMS, all of those tags and titles and descriptions have their own place inside the CMS to make it function for search on the front end. Different places for the title, descriptions, keywords, and then tags within our own site. And then on the front end, that looks like we took all those keywords and terms and interspersed them in our copy, in our headlines, and all of our other text. So a couple of examples here. You might notice on this sonography example, it's kind of small, but you might see on there, in one place we might have written Southeast Tech, in another place we may have written Southeast Technical Institute, and then in another place we might have written STI. And that's all by design, so that even though we like to call ourselves Southeast Tech, people still may be searching for STI or something else. And so we still want to be showing up in those searches. And then ADA compliancy is another term that's been thrown around a lot with the new website. And it's, of course, the American with Disabilities Act. And so it means that individuals with limitations, in primarily visual or physical limitations, can navigate the website as well with either the use of a screen reader, a modified mouse or a keyboard, or another device. And then, so to make this possible, our new site has all of the images and graphics have tags and descriptions. So example, if somebody who's hearing impaired is using a screen reader, or excuse me, visually impaired, it might tell them that they're looking at either the Southeast Tech logo or an image of a student in blue scrubs with a stethoscope, or whatever the case may be. So then all of our paragraphs and our headings are labeled, and then they are in the proper order from the hierarchy going down the page from H1 heading 2, 3, 4, and so on. The fields on the front and the back end of the site are labeled, and then the site is also navigable using a keyboard for those if you use a mouse. So that means everything's in the right order, and when you tab through, it goes through in a way that makes sense. And then
I just want to add that Jen makes it sound really simple, but this was a lot of work. And our old website was not ADA compliant. So when you think of every picture having to have a description on it, and it's a lot of work, but we're really excited that now we are kind of cutting edge in terms of a lot of organizations and businesses are going back to their website and how do we make our website ADA compliant? Southeast Tech's website is ADA compliant. And so that's what's nice about having a brand new website.
yes. All right, and then moving on to mobile navigation and organization. So with the site redesign, we kept mobile optimization at the forefront of our minds for a lot of those reasons that Megan already discussed. Students are filling out applications, their FAFSAs, requests for information, all on mobile devices. So the new site has increased functionality for users that are doing those kind of things. Another thing we tried to do was limit the number of PDFs. It doesn't search as well, and the information is hard to find. But where we are doing PDFs, we're moving forward to making all those documents ADA compliant as well. So then the site is also full of clear, easy to understand, easy to find calls to action. So the image that's on the screen now comes from the Student Life landing page. So you can see where you could easily find out where you need to go for tutoring information or information on housing or childcare or how to contact the registrar's office. And then all this content was mapped out as part of that process in the wireframes with Blend Interactive at the beginning, so we knew where we needed to put things. And Megan, did you want to talk a little bit about the testing that they did beforehand?
Sure. This was right before Jen was, before she came on board with us, but during that process, when we have wireframes, it's just an outline of a website. And so what Blend did is they came in and they set up a couple computer terminals, and then during one of our AAR events, we had a couple faculty members, we had staff members, and then we even had prospective students who were there sit down, and Blend would ask them, if you wanted to find this program, where would you go? If you wanted to apply, if you wanted to request information, if you were looking for maybe consumer information, where would you go? And so based on their actions, we tracked, yep, this looks good, this is where they want it, or they would say, my first place to look was here. So doing that at the very forefront helped us determine where should content be. And so that's what the testing was.
So then, what's next? As we've been talking about, the process is a process, not a project. And so for the next year, we're going to keep working with Russell and Noel Lovitz on monitoring and improving our search engine optimization. We're going to be coordinating our website updates and integrate those through our social media campaigns. And we're keeping tabs on our admissions metrics and our conversions. So for example, if something's not working, we can make adjustments and tweak keyword or organize the headings in a different way to make it perform better. And so likewise, if we're doing well on one section of the website, we can use the same tactics on other sections to make the whole thing perform better as a whole. And so we're also going to focus on building out content. And so our goal is to make our content more engaging, more useful, and even more informational. So that's going to focus on storytelling and then gathering quotes and testimonials from alumni, current students, faculty, industry partners. Put some increased focus on our partnerships. Add to our video library, which is also going to go hand in hand with reorganizing our YouTube account. And then also create a virtual tour of campus. And so what we're looking to do is do a new tour video with an animated tour guide. And build out our video library and our content that way. And then the bottom of the slide just has an example of a testimonial that's on the site. So it'll be more pieces that look like that. And so that is in southeasttech.edu.
Do you have any questions or comments?
Just thank you for all the work, because I mean, obviously, starting in 2018, this has been a long process in that project for you, and it will just hopefully reap the rewards of all your efforts to do this. And so I'm excited to go check everything out and see how it's going. Did you do like a press release to like counselors at high schools, or just to maybe spur interest? Or
Yep, on our website, when we launched it in December, it was actually, the timing really worked out well because people check out that time. So that's a nice time to launch and work out any kinks that we might experience. And so as we're moving forward, we'll continue to, I don't want to say too much, but we have received a couple calls like, hey, who did your website? Things like that. So people are taking notice. And all of our links on social media, everything that goes out in our communication funnel leads the students, they're checking it through emails and texts on their phone, leading them back to our new website. So they're seeing that. And then our scholarship application window just opened January 1st and runs through April 15th. So all those communications going out, students are leading back to our new website. Everyone's checking it out. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think as consumers we really understand what goes into the making of an easy to use, like logical website, but we certainly appreciate it when we run across one. So thank you for the detail and the testing. I think that's so interesting to actually ask people, where would you find this? And then let's put it there, because that's what makes sense. And that's not often a part of a process, I don't think. It's like, well, this is where I think it would be, or a programmer says this is where it all should go. And so
Right.
making it very user-friendly is such a brilliant idea that seems so simple, but is often missed. So kudos to your team for all the work for the past couple of years, and just the little bit that we saw of it looks great.
And we did have a school counselor, a couple of school counselors comment that it's so easy to find things now. And so those who are going to the site and they want to find something quickly for their students, that's the best feedback we can get, because they're not having to hunt and search for it. So, and if we get feedback that somebody can't find something, or we're keeping track of our, what people search in the search box, and making sure that that it's directed to where they need to go. And then Jen has a crawl set up every night, it indexes, and it's pretty sweet.
Thank you.
Thank you.
do I have a motion to approve the meet the new southeasttech.edu report?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Next report, and Ben, and then partnership update report.
Good afternoon, President Mickelson, members of the board. Wanted to provide you with an update regarding our academic programs and some of the partnerships that we have developed over the last year. Starting with some of our new programs, this last fall we did launch several new academic programs and restructured one of them. One of the new programs that we did launch was our medical assisting program. The nice part about the new programs that we launched, they were all at the request and partnership with industry. A lot of the information we received, the partnerships that we formed were through the sector breakfast that Southeast Tech has been holding over the last several years. With the medical assisting program, the regional healthcare systems, both of them, saw a huge need. They approached us, they talked to us about the need for this program and this level of employee within their system. The nice part is we planned on a small number of students starting. What we actually ended up doing was taking on National American University's program. We took their program and their students in because they were in teach-out mode. What ended up happening is we've had more students enroll in the program than we originally planned. So good problem to have is that we've now have a semester with that program under our belts. It has grown much faster than we expected, and the program now is also fully programmatically accredited through CAHEB. That has finally completed as well. And now that it is completed, we are able to make minor tweaks and changes to the program that are now more needed towards industry. One of the things that we're looking to do is combine phlebotomy, medical coding and billing, and our medical assisting into a larger program that students have that ability to enter and exit the program and earn multiple components. And speaking with several of the healthcare leaders here in Sioux Falls, they said that type of employee is even more valuable to us, especially in the rural settings, because they have such a breadth and such a wide variety of work that they can do, that employee is really going to be able to support the healthcare system moving forward. Our wireless technician program, that was primarily a partnership with Vicor, and that program will fully be launched, and we are in the process of recruiting students. We have, in conjunction with our admissions staff and the team, they have put together a phenomenal marketing plan, and they're out recruiting students for that program. That will start in March. Challenge, it is a very specialized niche. You have to find the right person that is willing to crawl or climb 300-400 feet into the air and dangle in the wind and cold and rain and snow. So it is a niche program that we're having to work on. The nice part is with that partnership with Vicor is allowing us to use their multi-million-dollar facility just north of Southeast Tech. So we're not having to put a tremendous amount into the infrastructure and being able to provide the educational resources and structure for that. That's all being provided by Vicor. And we're hoping that that'll be a huge partnership that will help meet the needs. I'm sure you've heard a lot what's going on in Sioux Falls and through Senator Thune's office with the expansion of 5G and the growth of wireless technology. This employee will be able to really support that. I believe Commissioner Carr from the Federal Communications Commission recently at a event mentioned that this industry is severely lacking for trained individuals to take on these jobs. So we will be one of two educational programs nationally that can provide and train these individuals. Our construction management program, we're really excited about that program as well. We redesigned that through a lot of industry input, and the program has evolved that we have several certificates embedded within the associate's degree. So here again, students can enter, earn a certificate based upon their financial needs, go back into the industry with some strong skills, be able to get a job, and then come back, finish another certificate, back and forth until they complete their entire degree. The one challenge there is facilities. Again, we don't have a lot of the infrastructure in place to support. We don't have a huge facility to build a home or anything like that. But I'm very proud to announce that we're developing a partnership between the City of Sioux Falls Housing Authority and the Home Builders Association, in which we're going to be partnering with them and finalizing those details that we're going to be taking a home that the city now owns either because of delinquent taxes or some other reason. And instead of the city demolishing or letting that home sit vacant, we're going to utilize that home as our actual construction lab. So our students would be able to go in and actually renovate, remodel, and get that home ready for a family to move into. The nice part is, since this partnership is with the city and the housing development, we are meeting one of our major core components from the Higher Learning Commission, and that is that we are required to give back to the community in which we operate. This allows us to reach families who are in low income, low socioeconomic areas and provide them affordable housing in the Sioux Falls area. So we're really excited about that partnership. The home builders are stepping in. They're going to be providing us a large trailer that will be parked outside of the home. It'll be the construction trailer. It is supplied with a ton of tools and other materials to utilize, and it'll also be our kind of mobile classroom because of the space within it. So a lot of partnerships that we're developing to really make these grow and make us more successful as we move forward. Now, in continuing to work with industry and listening to what they have said, we really are listening to our healthcare sector in one of the largest sectors here in Sioux Falls. And we've been approached about several new programs. So we are currently in the development stages. President Greggs did have a conversation day with the presidents at the other technical institutes and informed them that we're going to be proposing and moving forward with 2 new associate level programs. The first one is going to be an Associate of Applied Science in Paramedic Studies. Currently, that program is being offered through the University of South Dakota as a 4-year program. They're having some struggles with it because a lot of students are not staying the full 4 years. It's only one of literally a handful of 4-year programs. Typically, a paramedic studies program is a 2-year program. The USD did approach us through Sanford and asked if we would be willing to take on their program and their accreditation, be able to offer that paramedic program at Southeast Tech in conjunction with Sanford. Again, this is the nice part. The partnership with Sanford on this is that we will be utilizing their facility, so to build out infrastructure on our part will be very minimal. It's going to be more on the academic side, but being able to provide that, our goal is in the next 12 to 18 months have that program up and running, enrolling students into that program. We're also working in conjunction with Avera Health and starting an Associate of Applied Science in Respiratory Therapy. There is a huge need for respiratory therapists growing nationwide, and the respiratory therapy program, there's only one other program in South Dakota, and that's at Dakota State University. The program there is a 4-year. Industry, though, says this fall they can hire them. They're not producing enough of them, and it's taken too long. They need immediate action to meet the needs and the healthcare needs that are prevalent right now in industry. So we are looking to have that program up running again in another 12 to 18 months as well. Both the programs have to go through the full approval process. We're going to start the process right now of putting together advisory boards, getting the curriculum developed and launched. From there, we'll be coming to use the board for review and approval of the program, and then on to the South Dakota Board of Technical Education, followed by the Higher Learning Commission, that whole process. The nice part is, since we are very well established as an institution that provides high quality healthcare programs, we are very positive that Higher Learning Commission will see it as a desk review and not require a visit. So it should be a very seamless process to get these programs up and running. And the last thing I wanted to provide you is an update on the 2 new programs starting this fall. We're starting both our Dental Assisting Diploma and our Associate of Applied Science and Veterinary Technician. For both of those programs, fully approved through the Higher Learning Commission and through both you and the State Board, the Board of Technical Education. The last component is to receive Chromatic accreditation. We will start that process immediately upon the hiring of the full-time faculty. We'll be hiring a full-time faculty for each program. For the veterinary program, we are required to have a licensed veterinary on staff overseeing that program. So we're currently conducting that search. We're going to look nationally and find the right individual to step in and help us lead that program forward. For dental assisting, same thing. We're going to also conduct a national search and find the right faculty member to step in to help lead that program. For dental assisting, the program will be programmatically accredited through Dakota, the Council on Dental Accreditation, and for the veterinarians, the AVMA, the American Veterinary Association. Both those accreditation processes will take about 2 to 2.5 years from start to finish. A very lengthy process. Both will involve site visits and construction and finalization of the program and actually having graduates from the program. So there will be a little bit of time on that, but we'll continue working on that. The goal, I believe, will be presenting both programs for construction to the board later this month. And our goal is to start construction March, mid to late March, with completion by 1st of April, or I'm sorry, 1st of August. I wanted them sooner. No, the 1st of August, so that we can have classes up and running when the fall semester starts. So we're very excited about where we're headed and what we're doing within academics and how we are structuring our academic programs to really meet the vital needs within our service area, and that we're being as responsive as possible to industry and ensuring that they're getting a high quality graduate that can immediately be employable and meet their needs. Thank you. Any questions?
That's great, all great news, and obviously a lot of work being done behind the scenes from everyone at Southeast Tech to get this going. So thank you very much, and I mean, once again, way to be responsive to what our community needs and employees. So.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. Do you have a motion to approve the report? Second?
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Do you have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor of motion of adjournment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you. Forgot to show. So I got this in the email.